Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. In this one today, we're going to be doing the top 5 worst perks in COD Zombies from World at War II Black Ops Cold War. Coming into our number 5 spot, we have Deadshot Daiquiri from Black Ops 1. Now, there are technically 4 different variants of Deadshot. I'm specifically talking about the version on Black Ops 1 PC. On console, this perk gives you auto aim, which actually makes it a really solid perk in certain situations. The problem with this perk is that it's not useful in most situations, and once this perk is purchased, it doesn't give you a noticeable benefit compared to most other perks. On the PC version, all this perk does is give you a tighter bullet spread, which is useful for some weapons in Black Ops 1 like the dual-wield HS-10s, but once again the change isn't that noticeable and you're gonna have a better chance at surviving by buying any other perk. In the other games like Black Ops 4, you have a modifier to this perk that actually makes it really good. Once you get a certain amount of headshots, your gun will actually deal more damage, which makes it one of the better perks once the modifier is active in Black Ops 4. In Cold War, it only gets better having the ability to deal double damage on the first shot to the head, dealing more damage to the head overall, and more damage towards mini-bosses. In that game, Deadshot is actually one of the better perks, but from Black Ops 1 to Black Ops 3, this was regarded as one of the worst perks in the game. If you were a good player at Zombies, there wasn't much of a reason to buy this perk, and with very limited perk slots during that era, Deadshot was always picked last. The first map that this perk was released on was Black Ops 1 Ascension. During that time, Stamina Up was also released, and why would you ever pick up Deadshot when Stamina Up gave you a better chance of survival? This trend continued throughout the Black Ops games until Black Ops 4 when they finally reworked it. The only time that the first generation of Deadshot was useful was in Black Ops 3 when you got a perkaholic. With no perk limit and all the perks obtained in one go, Deadshot just seemed like a small bonus that was never bothering by any means. Overall, when it comes to Deadshot in Black Ops 1, it's not a bad perk, so to say. There are just so many better options that it's never valid to actually pick this one up. Moving into our number 4 spot, we have Who's Who. Now, Deadshot as a perk wasn't that bad. Instead, it just wasn't that good compared to many other perks. But with Who's Who, this perk is just straight up bad. It was only ever in one map in one game, that being Black Ops 2 Die Rise, which doesn't really put it into a good position to begin with. What this perk pretty much does is that it gives you another life once you are down, as long as you're able to revive yourself with nothing but a Colt. This perk on paper sounds really good because in a solo game of zombies, you only have so many lives with quick revive until your game ends, but with Who's Who, you get extra lives as long as you can pick yourself up. It sounds like a really good perk idea on paper, but in use, it's not that good of a perk. On Black Ops 2, it glitches out a ton, making it almost useless to most people that are using it. There are also countless times where you'll just fall out of the map once you enter the doppelganger mode. On Die Rise specifically, you can spawn on another floor, making it impossible to revive yourself. The worst part about this perk is that you don't even have a way to keep yourself safe when attempting to revive yourself. You spawn with nothing but a Colt, which makes it incredibly difficult on higher rounds. The whole point of this perk was to implement a high-risk, high-reward perk into zombies for the solo players. The problem is that Who's Who is really glitchy and is placed on a horrible map, so its full effects can't come to fruition. I think if they gave this perk another try and did something similar to Tombstone in Cold War, it could genuinely be a decent perk, but as it stands right now, it's coming in at our number 4 spot. Now, moving into our number 3 spot, we have Blaze Phase from Black Ops 4. Who's Who was a great idea that had the potential of being a good perk, it was just executed poorly. With Blaze Phase, not only was it executed horribly, but the idea wasn't even that good in the first place. This perk allows you to dash forward, killing or pushing over zombies that step in your way. It's overall not that effective, not just because the damage is weak, but also because you have to put yourself into a vulnerable position in order to use it properly. With perks that require special movements like flopping or sliding with PhD, there are usually other effects that justify using them. PhD, for example, gives you 0 explosive damage and removes all the fall damage that you can take, but with Blaze Phase, it's just the dash, nothing else. Once you use this perk's effect, it goes on a cooldown for a period of time, making it completely useless for about 5 minutes. Not only that, but just using this perk in the later rounds is almost impossible because you have to deal with so many super sprinters in the later rounds that by the time you crouch, you're most likely going to be taking a down. You also can't control this effect either, which makes the modifier almost useless because if you're facing towards a wall, you're just going to run out of the dash the moment you hit it. The worst part is that in the later rounds, it doesn't even kill the zombies, it just temporarily knocks them over, which isn't helpful at all, and it literally does nothing to the mini bosses. Overall, Blaze Phase was a weird perk added into the game. During the Black Ops 4 life cycle, it just felt weird to bunch this perk in when PhD Slider was a much better option when it came to the slide mechanic. Blaze Phase was a bad idea to begin with, and it was executed horribly, making it the third worst perk of all time. Coming to our number 2 spot, we have Death Perception. Now, very similar to Deadshot, there are two variants of this perk. The first is on Black Ops 4, which is the version I'm going to be discussing for the spot on this list, and the second is in Black Ops Cold War, which has a lot of redeeming qualities that make it one of the best perks for that game. In Cold War, you can get extra salvage for buying Death Perception, making it one of the greatest perks in that game because salvage is such an important key component to Cold War as a whole. But with Black Ops 4, there are only two different effects with this perk. The first effect, which literally isn't helpful whatsoever, allows you to see zombies through the walls. It puts this horrible looking red outline around the zombies, which makes Black Ops 4 as a game look even worse. You can also see the zombies that are behind you, which can be useful, I guess, but overall, if you have any type of experience with playing video games, or if you plug in your headphones, this perk just isn't useful at all. It doesn't provide any sort of improvement towards the player's defense or offense. It also doesn't help other players since only the person using this perk can see its effects. The reason this perk was most likely added into Black Ops 4 was to help out casual players, but from a casual player standpoint, it'd be better to use Dying Wish instead since it will keep you safe up until you can learn the map. The only reason that this perk isn't coming into our number 1 spot is because of its modifier effect, which allows you to deal more damage against mini bosses in Black Ops 4. Without this somewhat useful modifier effect, this perk would definitely come into our number 1 spot. Overall though, when it comes to Death Perception, it's similar to Deadshot where it can help you out in certain scenarios, but with Deadshot, you can greatly improve certain weapons that suck at hip firing. With Death Perception though, it's just not at all useful except when you put it in your modifier slot to go up against mini bosses, so for that, we're going to be putting it at our number 2 spot. Real quick before we get into our number 1 spot, I want to give an honorable mention to Double Tap 1.0. This perk on paper does almost nothing, but in practical use for certain weapons, it can actually be really effective. Snipers, shotguns, slow shooting fully automatic weapons like the HK-21 can all be improved with a faster fire rate. Even if you don't kill more zombies, you're killing them faster, which can keep you safe and get you through the rounds more quickly. I know a lot of people don't like this perk because it was the first perk ever to get a remake because its previous version was flawed. I don't think it's as bad as people say, but it still isn't that good of a perk. And coming into our number 1 spot, we have Tombstone from Black Ops 2. Now, this perk is notorious when it comes to COD Zombies. It was added on one of the worst maps of all time, and it's quite useless. There are even factors to this perk that put you at a disadvantage for using it. When using this perk, it only activates once you fully bleed out. Afterwards, it will leave a tombstone on the floor that you can pick up after the next round starts. Doing this restores all your perks and guns that you had when you bled out. There are quite a few problems with this perk. The first being that you have to bleed out in order for it to activate. Imagine you're on round 25 in a co-op game and your teammate goes down. It's in the middle of the round and you have to go revive him, but before you do, he just disappears and now you're left off to finish the round so that your teammate can get his perks back. The other issue with this perk is that it costs a lot of points and it only keeps your guns and perks. Guns you can normally keep if you just let your teammate revive you, and perks can be rebought, which is a much better and safer option than wasting your points going for Tombstone. There is a Cold War version of Tombstone that has the effects of Who's Who and Tombstone combined into it, but with self-revives in Cold War, it makes the perk almost useless. You also don't get to keep other perks that you bought once you revive yourself. Overall, when it comes to Tombstone, it's useless both on Black Ops 1 and Black Ops Cold War. With the normal mechanics of being able to come back to life at the end of the round, it just wasn't a good idea, and it wasn't executed in a good way either. So for that, Tombstone is coming in at our number 1 spot. The perk jingle is pretty good though. Anyways guys, it's going to wrap up the video for today. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, do all that. Leave your comments down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. Check down the description as well for more zombie related videos. And yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.